What's cracking, everyone? Welcome to the T and Me podcast. I'm Glenn. You still like that, don't you? I'm glad you like it.
I never heard that before.
It's something new. I guess I invented it.
You did.
I invented that.
Oh, that's great.
Hey guys, how you doing? If I look a little tired, it's because I am tired. So
And why? And why would that be?
Just wanted to share that with you. So, but
Well,
I'm ready to go.
It kind of stemmed the whole conversation as to what we're doing like now is like fall sports have started, and Glenn's line of work as a supervisor.
Yeah, it's getting
That
sports
becomes
ready.
the crazy time of year for him.
It is crazy for me.
So
But it's great. I love it. Another thing that stemmed this too was the Little League World Series.
Yeah,
You know,
right?
I mean, oh my gosh, to get to the Little League World Series is unbelievable for these young kids.
It is
Oh
incredible.
my gosh.
And it's like truly, like every country, or I think the majority of every country has a team representing, right? I'm not fluent on any of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean,
pretty incredible.
it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you have so much talent at such a young age.
Yeah.
And which leads us to the topic of kids playing sports.
Yes.
What's too much? What's not enough? I don't know. Either way you want to look at it.
Right, exactly. So when we were, we had our kids, it was like they were 3 and 4 years old when they started playing soccer. Yep. And they really loved it. They loved playing it. They loved being around it. They loved talking about it, watching it, you name it. It was always just, they were drawn to it.
They were.
So early on, I mean, I remember being like, they were like 7 and we were traveling for tournaments.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like couldn't understand it. And I guess I didn't expect them to, because I was just like, well, it's our kids playing. But
yeah,
it was, looking back on it.
And when she said people, people looked at you, and we weren't alone, because the circle of people we were around, they were all doing the same thing.
Sure, so it was normal.
But there was a lot of people who, their kids played sports, and it was just, a weekend thing, and when the season ended, they never, touched that sport again.
Yeah.
And that's fine too.
Absolutely.
That's there's no issue there. But a lot of people looked at us like we were crazy for the amount of traveling we would do just in a week for like club practice.
Yes.
We would go 3-4 nights a week, and we would drive up to an hour and 15 minutes for that practice.
That. Yeah.
And sometimes even further than that. But I think people would be like, isn't it a bit much? Isn't that excessive? Like,
are the kids gonna get burnt out? I mean, why are you doing all this?
Yeah, is it really worth all that? And I think it came down to, first off, the kids were playing a sport that I grew up playing. So there was a passion that was from me, and I was hoping to pass that passion down to my children.
Yep.
Which it did, because to this day, they're well into their 30s and late 20s, and they're still playing.
True.
And, with the hopes of they're going to pass that down to my grandkids.
True. Yeah.
So I did look at that. It was just something that was very passionate in me, and I wanted them to have that.
Yeah. And they really loved it. That was the beautiful part about it. I mean, I can think back to when our daughters first started playing, and I say this all the time because it is pretty awesome. They understand the game. Like, they understood the sport. And I am coming from a background of running track, so I never experienced soccer until after I started dating Glenn. And we were 15 when we started dating, so I had a chance to watch a lot of his games prior to, having our daughter. So, but going back, it was like I didn't know a lot about the game. Our daughter was playing, and our son was about 2.5. He might have been 3. And he was on the sidelines laying down on his stomach, and he's watching the game. And he's like, oh, no. Now, why would she do that? She should have. And whatever he was saying, it was really, he was critiquing.
Yeah, he was critiquing the game already.
And I was,
yeah.
I kind of looked and I thought, how does he know that? And it did. It was a really neat thing. And going all the way up, the understanding and the creativity part of the game, they both knew it. So,
right.
I don't know. I think it was like just part of them.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think we started 'em, at such a young age. It was a part of them,
Yeah.
all the way into college, and they played that sport all the way into college. But here's the thing. And I see this a lot, and I hear this a lot. How many kids get into? It doesn't matter what the sport is, or
Mm-mm.
I won't even say sport. I'll also say an instrument,
Yep. Theater,
theater, painting, and get
whatever.
into it, and then they end up actually just quitting,
Yeah.
like not even really giving it a go. And I'm talking about at a young age, because I'll give you a story. I remember my daughter started playing soccer at about 4, and it was probably like the first week of practice, and she's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play. And I could tell she was afraid. She was nervous. She was scared.
Oh.
And we would go to every practice, every game, so I knew she was okay. She was safe, and but if I would have just let her quit
Right.
and not let her face her fears
Yeah.
and not continue to work it out,
Right. Because
she would have never went on to play high school ball, travel ball, national ball,
state, yeah, no,
yeah,
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 everything. State, regional, everything.
college ball. It's like she would have never continued. We would have just fell short,
Right.
at 3, 4 years old.
Right. So
So
it's like there might be underlying things that are going, and I guess like I'm gonna kind of work off what you're saying right now. So it's like whatever your kids are interested in, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a sport. Whatever their interest is at like 3, 4, 5 years old, like they don't understand um, the commitment portion of anything yet. They're young. I mean, everybody kind of like looks at a young kid and thinks, well, like, how can they make that decision to just say they don't like it anymore?
they
Because
can't make that decision, not on their own.
no, and there's always underlying reasons. Like it could be the
It's
kid that sits next to him keeps hitting him with his like violin bow or something, like
or
something
it's
along
too
those.
hard. They're not picking it up fast enough,
Yeah,
and
and it becomes that self issue for them,
right,
and then they get scared, they lose the confidence, and then that way they just say they don't want to do it anymore. So
right.
when they're that young, just try to keep like giving them the guidance to just say, hey, well, let's try it again. Let's try this or let's try that. And honestly, I don't remember it ever being to where we ever had to force our kids to play soccer.
No,
We never had to be dragging them to anything. They were very excited to go.
right.
And as they started getting older, the commitments did start getting bigger.
Yeah, the demands were a
Woo!
lot greater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And then you think about like the growth spurts that they have. Like you're buying cleats for each kid, and you're
right.
probably doing that twice a year as it is because they play
Oh,
so much.
yeah.
And then their growth spurts are in, so then you're buying
All the travel, all the travel.
all of it. So it was like,
I mean, the good thing about sports, though, you know, it's okay to have different levels.
absolutely,
You,
absolutely,
you're going to have the so-called the top tier, then the middle
sure,
tier. It doesn't matter. It
no,
could be an instrument too.
yep,
Um, you don't always have to be the best at it.
no,
Now, at the top, are they trying to facilitate about being the best? Sure, they're looking for the best and they want to go further, and that's okay too.
sure.
But it's okay to be playing an instrument or a sport at a
Just because you love it.
just because you love it.
Yeah. Like take the whole competitive edge out of it, and it's just if you love to play. I mean, how many times, Glenn, we see even adults that are playing now.
Yeah,
And they're not out there. I mean, some are having glory days, but the majority of them are out there just playing because they love to play the sport.
right.
So I I would like to look at more of an idea for parents to say like, yes, is it a commitment? Is it
But hold on real quick.
yeah.
With you saying that, you know how many parents I talked to and said, "Oh well, yeah, my kid's not going to be doing that. That's just too much of a commitment."
Yeah,
It's like too much of a commitment.
we did hear that a lot. I guess, yes, we did hear that a
I
lot.
mean, it's a shame because like if that's something that your child wants to do, and it's too
Yes.
much of a, like, what's part is too much of a commitment? Standing on the sidelines, dropping them off, you know.
Yeah, again, I think it's the perspective of how people are looking at it. Let me break it down on this one, if you don't mind me like
No, go ahead.
interjecting on it. So it's too much of a commitment, right? But you have to understand you have hopefully 18 years with these people, these children. You have 18 years with them. all the car rides, all the tournaments, all the times on the sidelines, all the laughter, the chatter, the you get to know the friends, you get to know the friends' parents. I mean, you build such a family. And I'm saying this from the sports side of it, and this applies to everything, no matter what you're part of. It just becomes part of your life, and such great things grow out of it. There are challenges, there are, uncertainties, there are doubts, there's all these things, but they can all be really good learning tools,
Right.
especially for the kids.
Yeah, I mean, some of their best friends to this day
Yes,
are the ones that they met when they were 4 years old and continue to play
exactly.
sports all the way through.
Yeah, and whether they like stopped playing in middle school or high school, or it didn't matter at that point. Like it wasn't about the soccer.
No, not really.
You
I
know, it
mean,
kind of grew into more than just the
yeah,
sport.
it was more than the sport, most
Totally.
definitely.
So, and I'm just going to say from the soccer sideline, but pop in whatever interest your kid has. I mean, you want to see them fulfill as much of a love or a desire of something. Like support that. Like try to do your best on it. And listen, financial things are always an issue. I get it. There were many times like I would volunteer for like managing things, like just to offset some of the costs.
Yeah, it was expensive.
Everything got really expensive. I was training
Gas was
teams. Oh
expensive.
my gosh, yeah.
It was during the gas crisis.
I couldn't even look at our checkbook
Yeah.
when I would think about how much gas. Like, wow,
Yeah.
you're driving an hour and a half away to and back, and we're not getting home till like 11 o'clock at
No,
night.
we
Then
were.
getting back up at 5 in the morning to start it all over. Like, it
Yeah.
was crazy, and I
Yeah.
get that. Nobody has to do it that way if it doesn't fit with what you want to do. My point is just saying like whatever they're doing, just support it 100% and be part of it because you
Yeah.
miss so much when you're not part of it. If you can be, I mean,
Yeah. No, I would agree with that.
you know,
And the other thing is too. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at and what you're doing, whether it's a sport, again, an instrument. Who goes into it thinking like, I just want to be mediocre? Who does? Who does? I mean,
I don't think, no, initially, I don't think it starts out that way. But once again, there's a lot of pieces that might be happening along the way that, like, that self doubt or the uncertain, I don't know, like things happen along those ways. But just, I guess, don't be so quick to throw in the towel on stopping something, especially with the fall
yeah,
season starting up. I mean,
yeah,
if your kids are just getting involved in sports of some sort, like, it doesn't have to be like a mental breakdown every time you're taking the kids. I mean, give them a breather to kind of talk them through some things, but like then kind of place them back out there again to have them see if they can do it a little differently, or because we've seen it. I mean, sometimes the kids are just they're so upset. Just
yeah.
remember
When
there
they're
was
young,
yeah,
yeah,
and they're like
yeah,
crying. They don't want to go on the field. There's like, and it's like there's your chance to like teach them how to kind of cope or how to figure it out for themselves and but stopping it entirely or just saying well he doesn't want to go we're not taking him or she doesn't want to do this so we're not doing it, it's like no they don't know yet, like
No, I hear you.
yeah
I
like
hear you on that. But let's talk about some of the things when you are playing at the top tier and what you sacrifice.
yes now there's
What
a lot and that's
and
the other part that got us into a lot of trouble with a
it
lot
did
of people
because I got to be honest. With our kids, we missed Thanksgiving dinners for years.
yeah
We weren't here for Christmas.
right
Um,
birthdays
well, yeah,
dances
birthday, a lot of school dances because it's crazy because all these tournaments are on holidays.
or if they're on weekends a lot of times like we would actually have to leave like we would take the kids out early on Fridays to be able to avoid traffic, like there were things that we did that we just managed it differently.
But
And
here's the question
go
though:
ahead.
is it worth it looking back now to miss all that? To see where our kids are at today and what they accomplished, and is it worth it? Like those kids playing on the World Series, Little League
Yeah,
World Series.
yeah,
Do you think you ask them? Because I'm sure those kids are very committed. They're
sure,
probably playing almost all year long,
sure. Yep.
and to get to the Little League World Series, that's a huge commitment.
Oh,
If
the
you
opportunity and the experience.
Right.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
because not every person can
No.
say they made it to the Little League World Series.
No.
If you ask those kids, like, do you regret missing this or that, or and what are they going to say?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so
I think they're
either.
happy with the way things have gone, and they made it to the tournament.
Sure. Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's what I would say.
Right.
I
I
would say
agree.
the exact same thing.
I would do
Uh,
it all over
I
again the
would
same
do
way.
that the same thing all over again.
Yes.
Now I would like to ask them, sometime maybe on our podcast, but I mean we've had this conversation before,
Right?
and they agree. I mean they loved every minute of it.
It was.
You
Like
know?
literally, like thinking back on we had so many great memories out of this sport.
Yeah.
And they had so many incredible opportunities. Like they traveled the world with this.
Yeah.
And that's not bragging rights. That's not anything. There was
No.
hard work put in that by them.
Yeah.
I mean, that was anyone that is doing it at
Yeah.
that type of level can tell you, like, it's a lot of sacrifice and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of dedication. And that's the part that I think like spills over into
Yeah.
every facet of
In
life.
life. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, think back on your own, like everything that you've ever done in your life. It's like the challenges and overcoming them have always been so exciting to look back and be like, I did do that. Man, that was tough or whatever. So, yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, but yeah, I mean, moving forward with like, the kids, I just always noticed like with our son, he always did better when he had a stricter,
Yes.
uh,
Yep. Like a disciplined
yeah,
schedule.
that's what I'm
like,
trying.
Yeah.
He was more disciplined,
Yeah.
when he had a full schedule.
Yep.
When
Agreed.
when he was like had a,
An off like bye week or
yeah,
something.
right. He wasn't playing. I noticed that he was
Antsy.
not as on the ball.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, I would do it like Tina was saying. I would do it all over again, and like what we heard, what we talked about in the car
Yeah.
rides. Some of our best conversations were in the car.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure, for sure.
I-
Or like being away at weekends. Like we would try to alternate weekends. So wherever our daughter was, there was some weekends I'd go, some weekends Glenn go, but we'd always bounce kind of back and forth to
Yeah.
do that. The conversations that you can be part of when they're around their friends and just hearing your kids talking
Right.
as themselves, man, there
Yeah.
are great stories. And that's gonna be another time because we're like running pretty late here on this one, but
No, we're not.
we could talk about it all night,
Yeah,
could we?
we can keep on going.
No.
Yeah, we don't have to close it just yet.
But I'm saying, like, if we wanted to get into some of the funny, like, stories or some of the funny things that they did, and the antics and the joking around, the comedy, the stuff they were just
listening to
laughing.
them was it was
Oh
such a
my
pleasure to
gosh,
listen to.
I would pay to have that all back. Like
Yeah.
that's a big part that I
Yeah.
miss. Now
So,
we're still on the sidelines with our kids,
We are.
thankfully. But I don't know. It's an awesome place to be when you've watched them develop like this, and then they're kind of taking it into their own lives now. It's cool.
well, thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Leave some comments. I want to hear your stories, your
sure.
questions about kids in sports.
And feel free to keep texting us. We're getting a lot of great feedback on
We
our
are.
text, so don't ever feel like awkward about doing that. But definitely get in contact with us. We want to know what you guys want to hear.
All right, guys. Take care.